The sirens wailed through the quiet neighborhood as Elise clutched her belly, tears streaming down her face. But it wasn't the impending birth that haunted her. It was the weight of a secret that could unravel her entire world. In just 3 days, she would be a mother, if she could keep the truth buried. The canine officer, a loyal partner named Max, sensed something darker lurking beneath her facade. As he sniffed out the truth, the walls began to close in. My name is Elise. I'm not just a mother-to-be. I'm a woman on the edge of a betrayal that could cost us everything. The weight of my investigation pressed down on me like a heavy fog, obscuring my thoughts and making it hard to breathe. Hannah's face loomed in my mind, twisted in anguish as she struggled with the burden of her lies. I wondered how long she could keep up the charade before it all came crashing down. I could see the conflict in her eyes, a mixture of desperation and fear, but I needed to sift through the layers of her deception to understand the truth. Each day brought new revelations, and as I stood in the precinct, my hands clenched into fists at my sides, I felt the urgency of time slipping away. Detective Reyes stood next to me, his brow furrowed in thought. "Elise, you know you can't get too close to this," he cautioned, his voice low and steady. He was always the voice of reason, but in this instance, I found it hard to keep my distance. I nodded, though inside I felt the pull to connect with Hannah. I had always been drawn to the human stories behind the cases, and this one felt personal. It was more than just a job. It was about a life that was meant to begin but was already shadowed by a deadly secret. I turned away from Reyes, focusing my attention on Max, my loyal canine partner. He sensed my turmoil and tilted his head as if trying to understand the storm brewing in my heart. I knelt down beside him, resting my hand on his warm, reassuring coat. "What do you think, boy? Can we help her?" The idea of helping Hannah felt like a flickering light in the darkness, yet I was not naive enough to believe it would be easy. Every instant told me that Hannah's story was tangled in betrayal, and I needed to unravel it carefully. As I prepared to visit Hannah again, I felt the weight of Marcus's potential reaction looming over me. He was the father of the child, and yet I could feel the sharp edge of betrayal cutting through the fabric of their lives. If he learned the truth, would he stand by her side, or would he walk away in disgust? I had seen relationships shatter under pressure, and I didn't want to witness another one crumble before my eyes. Yet, this was not just about them. It was about the innocent child caught in the middle of adult decisions. The drive to Hannah's apartment felt like a lifetime. Each stoplight seemed interminable, and each moment of silence in the car was filled with unspoken questions. What would I find when I knocked on her door? Would she let me in to share her truth, or would she shut me out, sealing her secret inside? I was prepared for any outcome, yet I hoped she would reveal what lay beneath her composed exterior. My fingers gripped the steering wheel tightly, a silent prayer escaping my lips for the safety of the unborn child. As I arrived, I noticed the fading light of the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the pavement. I took a moment to collect my thoughts before stepping out of the car, glancing up at the apartment complex. It felt like a world away from the chaos of my life as a canine officer. I entered the building, my heart pounding in rhythm with my footsteps. When I reached her door, I hesitated, recalling the last conversation we had shared, filled with half-truths and the haunting weight of her worries. Gathering my courage, I knocked softly, the sound echoing in the silence. When Hannah opened the door, her eyes widened. And for a fleeting moment, I saw fear flicker across her face. "Elise," she breathed, stepping aside to let me in. I could see that she had been crying, the remnants of tears still glistening on her cheeks. I felt an overwhelming urge to comfort her, but I knew I had to tread carefully. I needed her to open up, to trust me with the truth. "Hi, Hannah. I wanted to check on you. How are you holding up?" I asked gently, closing the door behind me. The dim light of the room illuminated her features, revealing the weariness that had settled in her eyes. I could sense the tension in the air, thick and heavy with unsaid words. "I'm trying," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. but it's hard. I don't know how to navigate this anymore." Her vulnerability made my heart ache. She looked so fragile, and yet I knew there was strength buried deep within her, a strength that could emerge if she chose to confront her reality. "Can I help?" I offered, taking a seat across from her. "You don't have to go through this alone." I watched her closely, searching for any signs of openness as she wrestled with her emotions. She hesitated, glancing away as if the truth was lurking just out of reach. "I don't want to drag anyone down with me. It's my mess, and I'm scared of what it could mean for my baby." Her words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I understood her fear, the instinct to protect the life she carried, but I also knew that secrets had a way of unraveling, often with devastating consequences. "We can face it together," I said, hoping to instill a sense of safety. "Hiding it won't make it go away. You deserve to have someone in your corner." I reached out, my hand resting on hers, offering a connection she might need in this turbulent moment. As she looked at me, I could see the flicker of hope and fear battling within her. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up, Elise. The guilt is suffocating me." The admission hung in the air between us, thick with unspoken truths. I leaned forward, feeling the urgency of our conversation. "Whatever it is, I'm here to listen. You don't have to carry this burden alone." In that moment, I sensed a shift, as if the walls around her heart were beginning to crack. I could feel the tension rising, anticipation coursing through the room like electricity. I wanted her to trust me, but would she take that leap of faith? Would she dare to reveal the secret that threatened to tear her world apart? As I sat across from Hannah, my heart ached for the burden she was carrying. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy, and I could almost hear the clock ticking down the moments we had left before her secret spilled over. I leaned forward slightly, trying to catch her gaze, hoping to ignite some spark of courage in her. "Whatever it is, Hannah, you need to tell me. I can help you, but I can't do it if you're hiding something." My voice was steady, though my insides twisted with anxiety. Hannah glanced down at her trembling hands, the evidence of her inner turmoil. I could sense her weighing the consequences of her words, the fear of judgment battling with the need for release. I don't know if I can," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Each word felt like a struggle, a confession on the brink of being born. "What if it tears everything apart? What if it ruins the lives of the people I care about?" "Your truth matters, and it's going to come out one way or another," I urged, my tone gentle yet firm. "You're not just protecting yourself, you're also protecting your child. If there's something dangerous out there, you can't keep it hidden. We can face it together." My thoughts drifted to Marcus, the man who might be as entangled in this mess as she was. What would he think if he learned the truth? Would he stand by her or turn away in anger? Hannah drew a shaky breath, her eyes finally meeting mine, shimmering with unshed tears. I don't want to hurt Marcus," she said. "He deserves to be a father, to have a happy family." Her voice quivered as she spoke, the weight of her emotions evident. "I've already made so many mistakes. I thought I could fix everything before it got worse. I thought maybe if I could just carry this baby in peace, everything would be okay." The complexity of her feelings washed over me like a wave, a mixture of regret and fear that was all too familiar. "But hiding the truth can lead to even bigger problems, Hannah. It's like a wound that's festering beneath the surface. You need to face it head on." I paused, letting my words sink in. "What if I told you that the people who care about you, who want to support you, will understand? We all make mistakes, but it's how we choose to address them that defines us." Tears spilled down her cheeks, and she wiped them away angrily, a flood of emotions breaking free. "I was scared, Elise. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want Marcus to leave me. I didn't want anyone to know what I've been involved in." There it was, the crack in her facade, the vulnerability laid bare. I felt a surge of empathy. "What have you been involved in, Hannah?" I pressed gently, knowing that the time had come for her to let go of the shadows. "You can trust me. I'm here to help you." She took a deep, shuddering breath, and I braced myself for the truth. I wasn't just driving that day. I was meeting someone I shouldn't have. The admission hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy with implications. I was trying to get money for the baby. I didn't want to burden Marcus with financial problems. I thought I could handle it alone. The pieces began to fit together in my mind, the puzzle revealing a darker picture than I'd anticipated. "Who were you meeting, Hannah? You need to be honest with me. This could impact everything." "A dealer," she whispered, each word feeling like a knife plunged into my heart. "I thought I could just buy a little to get by. I never wanted it to get this far. When I crashed, I panicked. I didn't want anyone to know what I'd done." I leaned back, processing the enormity of what she had just confessed. The collision had not just been an accident. It had been a consequence of a decision that could unravel her life. "Hannah, you have to understand that this is serious. If you've been involved in illegal activities, we need to approach this carefully. You need to decide how you want to move forward, especially for your baby." She looked up at me, fear flooding her expression. "What if they find out? What if Marcus finds out? I can't lose him, Elise. I can't." Her voice broke, and I could see the weight of her choices suffocating her hope for a brighter future. "We'll figure this out together," I reassured her, "but you need to be proactive. Have you told Marcus any of this?" "No, and I can't." "He would be devastated. He has no idea what I've done," she confessed, her eyes pleading for understanding. "What if he never forgives me? I can't bear the thought of it." "Betrayal is painful, but honesty is the only way to truly heal," I replied, desperate to reach her. "You might find that he's more understanding than you expect. The sooner you tell him, the sooner you can start mending what's been broken. You can't keep living with this guilt, Hannah." As she nodded slowly, a sliver of determination flickered in her eyes, like a light pushing through the darkness. I could feel the shift within her, the realization that confronting her truth could be the key to her freedom. "Okay, I'll talk to him," she finally said, her voice steadier now. "I'll tell him everything." Relief washed over me, but I knew this was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, and Marcus's reaction was still a looming uncertainty. "I'll be with you, every step of the way," I promised. My heart racing with the weight of what lay ahead. "We'll get through this together." As we stood, I felt a sense of solidarity blossom between us, a fragile but vital connection forged in the crucible of fear and hope. In the back of my mind, I could hear Detective Reyes's skepticism echoing, but I pushed it aside. I had faith that even in the darkest moments, the light of honesty could guide us toward healing. Together, we would face whatever came next. If you want to follow this journey and uncover what happens next, be sure to subscribe for more updates. The truth is often more complex than it appears, and the story is just beginning. The morning sun filtered through the trees as I drove to the precinct, illuminating the weight of the situation I found myself in. My canine partner, Max, sat beside me, his ears perked up, sensing my unease. I could almost feel the tension thrumming in the air, as if the world outside was aware of the burden I carried. The case from yesterday replayed in my mind, each detail vivid yet haunting. Hannah's trembling hands, her eyes filled with sorrow, and the way she cradled her belly as if protecting something precious, but fraught with danger. I had a duty to investigate, to dig deep, but the thought of tearing apart the very fabric of a family was unsettling. Detective Reyes was already at the precinct when I arrived, poring over case files. His brow furrowed, a clear indication that he was still grappling with the implications of our findings. "Hey, Elise," he greeted, looking up as I entered. "What's on your mind?" His question was straightforward, but I knew he was aware that my thoughts were tangled in a web of conflicting emotions. I can't shake the feeling that there's more to Hannah's story, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. There's a heaviness in her eyes that speaks of guilt, but I can't pinpoint why. Reyes leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms thoughtfully. He was skeptical by nature, a trait that often served us well, but I also knew he had a heart beneath that tough exterior. People lie for all kinds of reasons, Elise. Sometimes it's to protect themselves, sometimes it's to shield others. You have to be prepared for the possibility that her guilt might not stem from anything criminal, he said, his tone even but laced with concern. I nodded, acknowledging his wisdom, yet my instincts urged me to dig deeper. What if it does? I countered, my voice firmer now. What if she's hiding something that could hurt her family? Max shifted in the seat, as if sensing the tension building between us. I patted his head absent-mindedly, grounding myself in his presence. Look, I know you're trying to be compassionate, but you also have to be a canine officer. Your job is to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I sighed, feeling the weight of his words. He was right. The truth was my responsibility, even if it meant unveiling secrets that could shatter lives. The decision hung over me like a dark cloud as I began sorting through the evidence we had collected. I felt drawn to Hannah, her struggle resonating with me on a personal level, but I couldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. It was a fine line I had to walk, balancing empathy with my duty to uncover the reality of the situation. With every piece of information I gathered, I found myself questioning the integrity of what I thought I knew. Later that afternoon, I decided to visit Hannah again. The urgency to speak with her was overwhelming. I needed to understand her truth and, perhaps, help her face whatever demons she harbored. As I approached her home, the familiar knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what might come next. When I knocked, Hannah opened the door, her expression shifting from surprise to concern in an instant. "Elise," she greeted, her voice trembling slightly. "I didn't expect to see you again so soon." I could see her hesitating, the door still ajar, as if she wanted to shield herself from whatever was about to unfold. "I just wanted to talk," I replied gently, stepping inside when she reluctantly allowed me in. The living room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn, casting shadows that felt heavy with unspoken words. "How are you holding up?" I asked, trying to keep my tone soft as I settled into a chair across from her. "I'm managing," she answered, her gaze dropping to the floor. "It's just a lot to process." The weight of her statement hung in the air, thick with implications. I leaned in, feeling the urgency of the moment. "Hannah, I need to ask you something important. I want to understand what you're feeling, but I also need to know the truth about what happened. Can you share that with me?" Her eyes flickered with fear, and for a brief moment, I could see the walls she had built around herself beginning to crack. "I want to, but—" she started, her voice faltering. "What if the truth hurts more than the lies?" Her question struck me hard, an echo of the internal conflict I had been wrestling with since our first encounter. "Sometimes the truth is painful, but it's also the only way to find peace," I replied earnestly. "Your past doesn't have to dictate your future." I watched as she processed my words, a myriad of emotions playing across her face. Her lips pressed into a thin line, and I could see the battle raging within her. "I'm scared," she finally admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "What if my choices lead to consequences I can't handle? What if I ruin everything?" Her admission resonated deeply within me, reminding me of my own fears and vulnerabilities. "You're not alone in this," I assured her, feeling the weight of the moment settle over us. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Just tell me what you're hiding." With that, Hannah took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping as if releasing a heavy burden. I I made a choice that might hurt Marcus. I didn't want to, but I felt I had no other options, she said, her voice quavering. As her words hung in the air, I understood that her confession could change everything. The truth was teetering on the edge, ready to spill forth and unravel the tapestry of lives intertwined in ways I could never have anticipated. The weight of Hannah's confession felt as heavy as lead, pressing down on my chest. I looked into her eyes, searching for the truth hidden beneath her guilt and fear. She had made a choice, and it was clear that whatever that choice was, it gnawed at her like a relentless predator. I was torn between my duty as a canine officer and my desire to support a woman who was clearly in distress. "What do you mean you had no other options?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, sensing the urgency in her need to explain. Hannah turned her gaze away, focusing on the ground as if the soil might offer her some solace. "I didn't want to keep the baby," she finally admitted, her words tumbling out like a cascade of tears. "I thought I could manage everything on my own, but when Marcus found out, everything changed. He wanted to keep the baby, but I felt trapped." The pain in her voice was palpable, and I could see the inner battle raging within her. It was evident that the pressure to be a good mother was crushing her spirit. Before I could respond, she continued, "I thought if I got into an accident, it would be an easy way out. I didn't mean for it to turn out this way. I never expected the police would find out." The confession struck me like a thunderbolt, and I could only imagine the turmoil that led her to such a drastic thought. The implications of her actions were staggering, and I felt a wave of sympathy wash over me, even as the canine officer in me fought against it. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Detective Reyes stepped into the room, the tension immediately shifting. "Elise, we need to talk about the evidence we found at the scene," he said, his expression unreadable. I nodded, but my focus remained on Hannah, who appeared to shrink in on herself at the detective's arrival. "Can you give us a moment?" I asked, not ready to break this fragile connection we had formed. Reyes hesitated, but eventually stepped back, allowing me to continue my conversation with Hannah. "This is bigger than just you and Marcus," I said, my heart racing. "If you feel trapped, we need to find a way to work together. But I need you to be honest with me about everything." Her eyes met mine, flickering with a mix of hope and fear, and I could tell she was weighing the risks of further revealing her truth. "I've been talking to someone," she finally whispered, her voice shaking slightly. "Someone who advised me on what to do. I thought they could help me, but now I see it was a mistake." The revelation sent a chill down my spine. There was another layer to this mystery, one that could entangle Marcus, Hannah, and perhaps even my own investigation. "Who is this person? What did they say?" I pressed, my instincts urging me to dig deeper. Her expression faltered, and I could see the conflict brewing within her as she grappled with the decision to disclose more. "I can't say," she replied, the tightness in her throat betraying her nervousness. "I'm scared, Elise. I don't want anyone to get hurt, especially Marcus. He has no idea what I've done." "Please, Hannah, the more you hold back, the worse it will be for everyone involved. You're in the middle of something dangerous," I insisted, trying to break through her wall of fear. She took a deep breath, staring at the floor as if searching for a way out of this conversation. "I'll try to find a way to tell you," she finally said, her voice a mere whisper. "But you have to promise me that you'll protect Marcus and the baby." I nodded slowly, my heart heavy with the burden of her request. "I will do everything I can, but you need to trust me. We have to work together." At that moment, I felt a strange sense of camaraderie with her, united by the shadows of our secrets. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "Just know that I will get to the bottom of this, no matter what." As she wiped away a tear, I glanced at the door, knowing that Reyes was waiting for me, eager to uncover the truth, but I was afraid of what that truth might mean. I needed time to process everything Hannah had just shared, to understand the tangled web of emotions and choices we were caught in. I felt a fierce protectiveness over her. Though I knew my job was to uphold the law, I also recognized the fragility of her situation. Reluctantly, I stepped back, giving her some space. "We need to figure out our next steps. Can we meet again tomorrow?" I asked, hoping that she would agree. She nodded, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes, as if she had made a silent pact with herself to confront the demon she had created. I stepped out of the small room, my heart racing as I faced Reyes. He didn't waste any time. "What did she say?" he asked, his tone urgent but lacking the warmth I had just shared with Hannah. I hesitated, debating how much to reveal. The weight of my responsibility loomed larger, and I knew I needed to balance my duty as an officer with my growing empathy for Hannah. "She's scared, Reyes. She feels trapped," I finally said, my voice steady. "And there's someone else involved in this, someone who has been advising her. I'm not sure if it's a threat, but we need to dig deeper." His brow furrowed, and I could see the skepticism creeping into his expression. "We need to act quickly," he said. "If there's a person pulling the strings, they could be watching her." The urgency of the situation made my stomach churn. As we moved into the next phase of the investigation, I couldn't shake the feeling that time was not on our side. Lives hung in the balance, and with every passing moment, the truth felt further away. I made a silent vow to protect Hannah and Marcus, no matter the cost, even as I braced myself for the storm that was surely brewing ahead. As I stepped away from the scene, my mind raced with conflicting thoughts. The weight of the investigation felt heavier with each passing moment. I couldn't shake the image of Hannah's tear-streaked face from my mind. She was a young woman caught in a heartbreaking situation, yet something about her story gnawed at me, urging me to dig deeper. It was as if a shadow hung over her innocence, casting doubt on the truth she had presented to us. Detective Reyes, ever the skeptic, had been watching my reactions closely. I caught a glimpse of his furrowed brow as he stood by the police car, arms crossed, clearly wrestling with the same suspicions I harbored. "Where do we go from here?" he asked, breaking the silence. The question lingered, and I could sense the weight of his skepticism. He had seen too much in his years on the force to take things at face value, and I admired that about him, even if it sometimes irritated me. I took a deep breath, trying to organize my thoughts. "We need to talk to Marcus," I replied, feeling a surge of determination. "If there's a secret, he might know what it is." Reyes nodded, though I could tell he had reservations. "You think he'll be honest with us?" I shrugged, not wanting to concede that I wasn't sure. "He might be more open than Hannah. After all, he's the one who's been left out in the cold." The car ride to Marcus's apartment was thick with tension. I glanced at Reyes, his jaw set as we navigated the city's bustling streets. I couldn't help but wonder if he understood just how desperate I was to get to the truth. As we pulled up to the building, I caught sight of a woman standing near the entrance, her silhouette framed against the fading light. I recognized her instantly. It was Marcus's sister, Clara. She looked anxious, glancing around as if expecting someone who was late. I stepped out of the car, and Reyes followed suit. "What's going on?" I asked, approaching her cautiously. Clara turned to face me, her eyes filled with worry. "I'm just waiting for Marcus," she said, her voice trembling. "He's not answering his phone, and I'm starting to get worried." My heart sank. "We're here to talk to him. Is he home?" She nodded but didn't move. "He was supposed to meet me for dinner. I think he's upset about everything that happened." "Can you show us to his apartment?" Reyes interjected. Clara hesitated for a moment, then led the way inside. The dimly lit hallway was quiet, save for the soft creaking of the floor beneath our feet. I could feel the tension mounting as we reached Marcus's door, and my instincts told me that whatever lay beyond would change everything. Clara knocked gently, but there was no response. The silence felt heavy, a palpable sense of dread filling the air. "I'll check," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper. She fished her keys from her pocket and unlocked the door, pushing it open slowly. Inside, the apartment was dark and cluttered, a stark contrast to the vibrant lives we had been investigating. I stepped through the threshold, my senses on high alert. "Marcus?" I called out, my voice echoing softly in the stillness. When there was no answer, I exchanged a worried glance with Reyes. We moved further into the apartment, the darkness wrapping around us like a shroud. Suddenly, I spotted a figure slumped on the couch, and my heart raced as I rushed forward. "Marcus!" I knelt beside him, my mind racing with possibilities. He looked pale, his eyes closed, as if he had been lost in a deep sleep, or worse. "Is he okay?" Clara asked, fear lacing her words. I checked for a pulse, relief washing over me as I felt the faint thrum beneath my fingers. "He's alive," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "but we need to get him to a hospital." As Reyes moved to call for help, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the tip of the iceberg. Marcus stirred slightly, his eyes fluttering open, confusion etched on his face. "What happened?" he mumbled, blinking against the dim light. "Marcus, it's Elise. We're here to help you," I said gently, trying to keep my voice calm. "Can you tell me what's going on?" His brow furrowed as he struggled to sit up. I don't know. I just needed to think." "Think about what?" I pressed, my heart racing. He had to know something about Hannah's secret. He swallowed hard, his expression shifting from confusion to something darker, more turbulent. "Hannah," he said, almost in a whisper, "I found out something I wasn't supposed to." My pulse quickened. "What did you find out?" I needed him to open up, to break through the walls he had constructed around himself. "She lied to me," he continued, his voice shaking, "about everything. I thought we were in this together. But now?" His words trailed off, and I could see the weight of betrayal etched across his features. "Now what, Marcus? Please, we don't have much time," I urged, desperation seeping into my tone. He took a shaky breath, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "She's not just scared, Elise. She did something that could ruin us all." In that moment, the pieces of the puzzle began to align in my mind. I felt the gravity of the situation deepen, the stakes rising higher than I had anticipated. "What do you mean?" Before he could respond, the sirens of an approaching ambulance filled the air, a sharp reminder that time was running out. The truth was hovering, just out of reach. And I couldn't help but feel that we were on the brink of uncovering something that would shake the foundations of their lives. As I looked at Marcus, I realized the tangled web of lies was about to unravel, pulling all of us into its chaotic embrace. I held his gaze, silently urging him to continue, knowing that whatever he had to say could alter the course of everything we thought we understood about this case, about Hannah, and about justice itself. I took a deep breath, preparing for whatever was to come. "Marcus, just tell me the truth. We're running out of time." And in that moment, I knew we were about to step into a world far more complicated than I had ever imagined, where loyalty and betrayal danced a perilous tango, and the consequences of the past could change everything we knew about the future. If you have a story of resilience or a moment when the truth set you free, I invite you to share it. Your experiences matter, and together we can find strength in our narratives. I stood outside the hospital, the morning light casting long shadows across the pavement. My mind was racing, grappling with the revelations that had unfolded in the past few days. Detective Reyes leaned against the car, his expression a mix of skepticism and concern, mirroring the turmoil brewing within me. Hannah's secret was like a storm cloud, darkening everything around us. I could feel the weight of it pressing down, threatening to suffocate any hope of resolution. As much as I wanted to pull back the layers and expose the truth, I was acutely aware of the lives at stake, particularly the innocent life Hannah carried. "Do you think she'll talk?" Reyes asked, breaking the silence that had settled between us. His voice was low, cautious, as if he feared the answer. I knew what he was getting at. Hannah was no longer just a victim in my eyes. She was a complex figure entrenched in a series of choices that had led us to this moment. Each decision felt like a thread in a tapestry of betrayal, and I was caught in the middle, both an investigator and a reluctant confidant. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart heavy. "She's scared. There's so much weighing on her, and I can't help but wonder if she's hiding something even deeper." The thought gnawed at me, curling around my insides like a vine. How could a mother, a woman about to bring life into the world, carry such burdens? It defied logic, yet here we were, tangled in a web of secrets that threatened to unravel everything. Reyes nodded slowly, his eyes scanning the horizon as if searching for answers hidden in the clouds. "We need her to trust us. If we push too hard, she might clam up." I could see the gears turning in his mind, the careful balancing act of protecting a life while pursuing justice. "But if there's more to this—" "We'll need to tread carefully," I interrupted, sensing the urgency in his words. "But we can't let the truth slip away either." My resolve hardened as I thought of the implications of Hannah's actions. If she was concealing something, it could endanger not only her, but the child and Marcus as well. His betrayal had left him reeling, making it all the more critical that we uncover the truth before it was too late. After a moment's pause, Reyes pushed himself off the car, his demeanor shifting from contemplative to determined. "Let's head back in. We need to talk to her, see if we can coax something out." As we approached the hospital entrance, I felt a surge of anxiety. The sterile smell of antiseptic washed over me, mingling with the unsettling sense of urgency that clung to my skin. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just an investigation. It was a reckoning. Inside, Hannah lay in a hospital bed, her pale face framed by a tangle of dark hair. I caught sight of the monitor beeping softly beside her, a steady reminder of the life she was nurturing. As we entered the room, she looked up, her eyes widening with a mix of surprise and apprehension. I could see the flicker of recognition, the understanding that we were there for more than just a routine follow-up. "Officers," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the world pressing down on her fragile shoulders. I took a step closer, feeling the need to bridge the distance between us. She was terrified, and I could relate. Fear often led to silence, but we needed her to break that silence. "Hannah," I started gently, "we need to talk about the accident and what happened. There's something more going on here, and we want to help." I hoped that my tone conveyed compassion rather than interrogation, but the rawness of the truth loomed large in the air between us. She looked down, her hands twisting the sheets, betraying the conflict raging inside her. I don't know what you mean," she stammered, her voice shaky. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, understanding how guilt could eat away at someone from the inside. It was a treacherous burden, one that could distort reality and drive a person to the brink of despair. "You're pregnant, Hannah. You've already endured so much. If you're holding something back, it could hurt you and your baby," I pressed, my heart aching for her as I spoke. "We're here to protect you, not to judge." For a moment, her eyes flickered with vulnerability, and I seized the opportunity to deepen the connection between us. "I just wanted everything to be okay," she finally whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "But I didn't know how to fix it." There was a raw honesty in her admission, and I could feel the heaviness of her words sinking in, wrapping around the truth like a shroud. "What do you mean?" I asked softly, leaning in closer, hoping to coax out whatever it was that haunted her. "What were you trying to fix?" Hannah took a trembling breath, her gaze locking onto mine, as if searching for assurance. "Marcus, he was losing himself in the chaos of our lives. I thought I could control everything, keep it together. But then," her voice faltered, and I sensed the floodgates were about to open. "Then what?" Reyes urged, taking a step forward to lend his support. "I made a choice, one I thought was for the best," she said, her words rushing out in a torrent. "But it wasn't, And now I'm terrified of losing everything, including my child. In that moment, the truth hung in the air, heavy and potent. I felt the gravity of her confession settle around us, intertwining our fates in ways I hadn't anticipated. We were no longer just officers and a distressed mother. We had become parts of a fragile web of hope, fear, and desperation.